climbing, I'm losing my grip. Storage costs rising, they'll never let me skip. Refunds I'm eating, returns pile up too. Oh, Amazon, what else will you do? I look at my dashboard, my profits erased. My margins are gone, it's a slap in the face. Prime Day's a promise, but it's such a race. How much will I make if I'm replaced? It's a cruel, cruel number. Fees keep climbing, profits torn asunder. Oh, it's cruel, the sellers wonder how to survive when the margins go under. It's a cruel, cruel number. Every month it's something new to plunder. Oh, it's cruel, it's no wonder we're stuck in this game. The algorithm's thunder.
Yo, Amazon's back, and they got a new scheme. Reimbursement slashed, it's every seller's dream. They're digging deep, taking more from the pot. Let's break it all down, expose what they got. March 25, it's a policy drop. They say manufacturing costs, but we know it's a flop. Give us your cogs, they're demanding the price. But if you don't, they'll estimate nice. Nice for them, not for you. Watch a payout shrink. That comprehensive evil is a corporate wing. Lost in the warehouse, damaged on the floor. Now they pay you pennies, not a cent more. Fees on the rise, profits on the run. They don't lift a finger, but they pocket the fun. We're fair! They shout while they cut our shares. Amazon math, man, it's full of errors. Fees, taking our dough. They're stacking the deck, and it's sellers who owe. Reimbursement? Nah, they're taking us down, but we're still here, we don't mess around. Fees, straight to the top. Amazon's game, it'll never stop. Margins tight, but we keep the grind. Sellers unite, we're one of a kind.
I try to sell my product on Amazon, thought it'd be a breeze. But little did I know I'd be stuck with seller support disease. They never seem to solve my problems, just give me the runaround. I'm tired of waiting on hold. My patience is wearing thin, I'll never be found. Amazon seller support, you suck, you suck, you suck. Can't get no satisfaction. I'm out of luck, out of luck, out of luck. You don't care about my business, just trying to make a buck. Amazon seller support, you suck, you suck, you suck.
This one's for the sellers on the grind, getting left on red, wasting all their time. I hit up support, got an auto reply. Thanks for your patience, man, I wanna cry. Inventory lost, my margins are toast. Reps playing tag like the Casper the Ghost. They pass me around, it's a never-ending game. Nobody takes action, everybody shifts blame. My ASIN's down, I'm out of the race. They say they'll escalate, yo, what a disgrace. Amazon seller support, you're breaking my heart. No answers, no fixes, just tearing me apart. Hours in the queue, stuck in the dark. Amazon seller support, you're missing the mark.
Amazon game plan, that is the key. Seller central dashboard, that's where I be. Analyze the funnel, see what we lack, then we optimize. Sellers know it's a fact. I get it popping, you know that it's lit. Climbing the rankings, ain't no room to quit. I check the data, they notice the stats. I keep the method, that's how you adapt. Metrics are showing, you know it's our cap. Amazon sellers, it's time to react. I'm about that action, I do this with passion. I got them like, whoa, what is this? Huh, whoa.
I don't know, dude. I think everybody's just buying stuff based on reviews and badges or whatever. They don't even know who we are. These customers don't even know the name of my brand. But they keep clicking add to cart like it's part of the plan. They see that Amazon badge and think it's all grand. But yo, they don't even know the name of my brand.
Click, scroll, build your store. Amazon's waiting, what you waiting for? Brand it loud, make it shine. Steven's here to drop the rhyme. Dials, banners, plug and play. Your storefront's live, let's sell a day. Now listen up, I'm Steven Pope, Amazon guru, I'll help you cope. Step one. Get that trademark stamped. Without brand registry, your Amazon cramped. Head to Seller Central, log in quick. Manage stores tab, yeah, that's the trick. Upload your logo, flex that style. You're about to make Jeff Bezos smile. Where pick a template, marquee or grid. Drop your tiles like a branding whiz. Hero image, big and bold. This store's gonna glitter like digital gold. Flex, grow, build your store. Amazon's waiting, what you waiting for? Brand it loud, make it shine. Steven's here to drop the rhyme. Blue tiles, banners, plug and play. Your storefront's live, let's sell today. Yo. In the trenches of the Amazon game, trying to survive while it's driving me insane. Nobody warns you, they just claim it's passive income. Nah, it's pain. I'm sitting at a birthday, laughing, chilling, next to a newbie Amazon seller spilling. She's like, Prime so smooth, it's a killer. Then tried to sell, now she's stuck in a thriller. Finding products, yeah, that's the first grind. Scrolling Alibaba, losing my mind. Samples suck, manufacturers decline. I'm like, dang, how's anyone doing this fine? Ship it in, pay for the bubble wrap, but they ship glass bottles in padded crack. Now I got hot sauce leaks, refund stack, customers pissed. Man, I'm under attack. Amazon's a beast, it's a fight, no peace. From SEO to PPC, the hustle don't cease. Think it's passive? Nah, you better increase your tolerance for chaos or face defeat. Trademark wars, brand registries a scam. They banned my brand, now I'm in a jam. Listings yanked, products ranked and tanked. Lost dogs in the catalog, my account shanked. Now let's talk ads, it's a rabbit hole. 1,000 hours deep, man, it's taking my soul. Weekly negations, bulk sheets for control. Excel's my new weapon, but it's taking its toll. SEO's no joke, keywords in the game. All text, A+ content, playing insane. Lifestyle shots, avatars for fame, but the CTR's low, all products look the same. Amazon's a beast, it's a fight, no peace. From SEO to PPC, from SEO to PPC, the hustle don't cease. Think it's passive? Nah, you better increase your tolerance for chaos or face defeat. Let's go to Max School. To Max School. Class is now in session with Professor Pope. They got the SOP, cause Professor Pope wrote the recipe. Helping Amazon sellers grow sales exponentially. Amazon's a jungle, but we map the strategy. Brand strategist playbook, it's a guide to victory. Troubleshooting catalogs, you know we got the answer key. Boosting all your rankings, turning sales into a legacy. SOB so deep, you'd think we studied at Max School. Every step we follow leads to growth, yeah, it's a golden rule. Stuck on keywords, we'll find the ones that work the best. Using Helium-10, strike distance keywords pass the test. Incremental indexing ensures the listing set to rise. From the back end to the bullets, optimization hits the skies. Brand store creation, yeah, we make it shine and flow. A+ content design makes conversions overflow. Need your images on point, best practices in the plan. All text and photo rules ensure your visuals command. SEO meets PPC, it's balanced, every step aligned. We'll construct the MKLs that drive rankings over time. Budget caps and bid adjustments, no more wasted spending. Segmentation builds campaigns that sellers can defend. Got a hijacker, no problem, we'll file to take them down. Review requests in action, 5-star ratings come around. Flat file updates, market share reports, it's all in reach. Professor Pope wrote the SOP so sellers learn and teach.
Meanwhile, my Amazon guys on the case, fixing up my problems at lightning pace. Ticket escalations, Mag's the boss. Even Amazon says we'll take the loss. Seller support don't know what's up. Passing the buck when the issue gets tough. They're the official team, but they can't comply. So they say, reach out to my Amazon guy. They're supposed to be the pros, but they can't decode policies and tools from their own damn road. I'm paying fees, yet they bring me stress. But Mag turns my chaos into pure success. Seller support reps, they throwing shade, but then admit, yo, Mag will get you paid. Third-party agency taking the throne while Amazon fumbles in their own damn zone. Seller support don't know what's up. Passing the buck when the issue gets tough. They're the official team, but they can't comply. So they say, reach out to my Amazon guy. So here's the truth, let's keep it real. Mag's the team with the pro-level skill. Amazon sellers, you know the vibe when support says call Mag. They'll give you peace of mind. Amazon seller support, you can suck my image stack. Sucking is all you're good at anyway. Bezos, hit me up if you want to sell seller support. I'm buying. There's a chase. Peace.
All right, so we are live, and we're going to be talking about all things profitability on selling on Amazon. So to help you make sure that you're not just bringing in top level revenue, which looks real sexy for the screenshots, but also bringing in money into your bank accounts and bringing the most possible. So I'm super excited to bring on the Ecom CFO himself, Sam Hill. So Sam,
Woo!
thank you for joining us here
What's up,
on
Kevin?
AMA today. So super excited that you're here. So Sam, real quick, introduce yourself if you don't mind.
Yeah, I am Sam Hill, the founder of Ecom CFO. We're about 5 years old, about 50, 60 clients, 30 people on our team. And yeah, just super excited to be here and answer any questions, or we'll make up our own questions
Exactly.
about what's been top of mind. And yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So you and I first got connected, oddly enough. I think this might be a funny story for folks. About 4 years ago. So I wasn't even at my Amazon guy. I was going to host a webinar, excuse me, a workshop on, I think I was calling it the profit class. And it's all about profitability. And I had somebody lined up who was, background and as a CPA and whatnot. All of a sudden he backed out at the last minute. And I had a co-working space, and I just happened to be walking by somebody who was in the same co-working space, and on his computer was a logo that said Ecom CFO. So I was like, dude, who is this Ecom CFO you're talking to? Can you get us connected? And so he spoke very highly of you, and you spoke at at least one of the summits that I hosted. I think you're going to be speaking at another one coming up here soon. So super excited to have you sharing your knowledge, because everyone talks about the revenue, but they don't talk about the stuff in between revenue, expenses.
Well, they're talking about it more now.
Right. Or at least on their mind, whether or not they're posting about it. So give us a quick little rundown, if you don't mind. What is happening in the world of e-commerce, Amazon, and profitability? Like what are the headwinds, and maybe get into a little bit of how folks can fix that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really into history lately and reading specifically business history, and 2 books by Rob Chernow, House of Morgan, which is the history of JP Morgan, less about the person, more about the enterprise, and also Titan by Rob Chernow, which is about John D. Rockefeller, more the person than Standard Oil, but it gets into a lot of actually Standard Oil as a company. And one of the things that struck me the most, particularly with House of Morgan, was that they've been in business for over 100 years. The start of that company was the selling of war bonds in the Civil War from both the North and the South into Europe. And now they've become the JP Morgan conglomerate, including Chase that we all know today. All right, don't know if I lost Kevin, but I'll just continue on my journey here and my story. So JP Morgan started as selling Civil War bonds. It was basically a 1 or 2 man shop, and they evolved into the business that we know today. And you can imagine all the things that have happened in that 150, 170 year history of that company, and all the challenges that they faced. They faced, existential challenges like the Great Depression, or .com boom, or .com bust, the Great Recession in 07, 08. They've gone through World War I, World War II, and multiple world wars. And in every market, sometimes they shrunk as a company. Sometimes they were able to take advantage of that situation or that opportunity and outlast their competitors. And so I think all that's happening in this particular time is that, we as an industry are facing a set of certain challenges. Some companies will fail. Some companies will decide to go out of business and pursue something different. Some companies will, weather the storm, and some companies will really thrive in this environment. And you have to decide as an owner, which one are you going to be? And I know I'm not an Amazon business or a D2C retail or omni-channel business. I'm at the end of the day, I'm a service provider, but I've had to ask myself the same question too. What am I going to do? Am I going to thrive in this environment? Am I just going to weather the storm, or am I going to close up shop? And I've chosen number one, to try and thrive in this environment. And what does that look like? How do I need to change as a business owner? How do I need to change personally? What reflection do I need to do? What are my real gaps, my biases, or what skills do I need to develop to actually thrive in this environment? So I'm going to pause and figure out if Kevin. All right, Gilbert says that we lost Kevin. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep going. And Gilbert, or if anybody else in chat or the comments has a question or something that's top of mind, by all means, let me know, and I'll start talking about that. But I think that historical context is really helpful, because we always think that this time is different, and it's really not. It's just it's a different set of challenges that we have to overcome, and in another 5 years, 3 years, or 10 years, there's going to be more challenges that come up that we have to face as business owners. So I think I'd also like to talk about some things that are more top of mind, and we've been talking about this in our newsletter a lot lately, is kind of what the cadence should be and what you should be looking at as an owner. And sorry, I'm reading the private chat. Okay, cool. Yeah, some things that have been, top of mind is just helping founders understand what they need to look at and when, and as it relates to finance specifically. And it can be difficult sometimes as a founder who doesn't have a lot of finance and accounting experience to kind of understand what the boundary is between marketing and finance, because it's a very blurred line in our space, because you have so much control over your marketing spend on a day-to-day basis, week-to-week basis, or hour-to-hour basis. And so which of those metrics are inherently marketing related, are inherently financial? How often should you look at them? What story should that tell you? And how do you kind of orient yourself? I was just talking to our content director earlier this morning about the monthly, weekly, and daily review cycle, and what you should be looking at, and what it should be telling you, and also how much time should you be investing in this. So really starting at the monthly level, we typically have a monthly review with our clients. And we're typically going over more P&L focused metrics. We're looking at what were your discounts as a percentage of sales, your refunds as a percentage of sales, what was your gross profit margin, what was your contribution margin, what were your fixed costs, and we're triangulating against a few different points of time we're triangulating against 3 dimensions. One, we're saying, okay, what if we compare this month to the same month last year. So if we're doing a review for March's books, for example, we're comparing March 2025 to March 2024. That tells us one story. We're also comparing against the last 2-3 months. So we would compare against December, January, February to see if there's any particular trends there. That is another part of the story. And then the last part of the story that probably founders don't pay enough attention to is what you actually budgeted for, because it means that you had to actually go through a budget process and put a plan together about what do you expect to happen for the year. So again, to review, we're triangulating against same month last year, last couple months, and then finally the budget. And each one of those, comparing against each one of those, should tell you a story, and also where you as the founder need to allocate more of your resources. Okay, I just got word that Kevin's coming back, but I'm just going to keep going in the meantime. And so, yeah, it may be that your unit economics are good for that particular month, and your fixed costs were a lot higher than same month last year. So that general review process, that triangulation between those 3 points, should take you an hour. And then the output of that is, okay, where do I need to go deeper? And so if my fixed costs are high, okay, I need to click into all of my different accounts and see where that money went. Did I just spend a lot of money on a photo shoot? Did I spend a lot of money on an agency that I didn't realize, how much it was, or I'm paying more than what was contracted? Is my return on ad spend acceptable? Is it what I expected? Is my gross profit acceptable? Is it where I expect it to be? And if it's not, then I can now allocate that time to go into my SKU level or order economics. Kevin,
you were
the last minutes.
Folks, we are live and we just threw Sam to the fire. So hopefully I was on the tech support app for my internet to figure out what was going wrong. So if I go down again, I apologize, folks. But
no worries.
This is live, and Sam is a trooper. As you can see, Sam is the type of guy who takes action and gets stuff done when trial by fire. So Sam, big kudos to you. I have no idea what went on, but I just jumped on and
I talked about history. I talked about
right.
JP Morgan. I talked about John D. Rockefeller. I talked about doing it. This is what's been top of mind for our newsletter. And I just had a meeting about this with our content director. Because I think in not only in times of uncertainty, but generally speaking, I see this gap of founders not quite having a framework for kind of what they need to look at and when. So that's what I've spent the last 5 minutes talking about. It's at the monthly level, at the weekly level, and at the daily level. And this it's not really attention. It's just an understanding of what metrics and what things are inherently marketing and what things are inherently finance. Because there is, I think, an important distinction in that. I think sometimes I'd probably say this at my detriment, that some people value or expect the CFO to be in everything. And there's a balance between what you want your CFO to review or comment on or have input on versus what you actually want them to actively manage or what you are an expert on. We are not experts in which terms should you be targeting for your PPC campaigns or your ad copy, or even which platform is going to be more successful for you, whether it's Amazon Meta, SMS, or whatever. like we get to the level of, hey, directionally, your return on ad spend was X, and that's impacting your contribution margin by Y. If you were to improve your return on ad spend by X, then you would achieve your contribution margin target of Y. And this is, roughly how much you need to cut or be more efficient, or we need to change the other parts of your unit economics, increase prices, work on discount strategy, all that kind of, negotiate with suppliers for better pricing, etc. That's the level of the CFO involvement versus what is marketing.
Very cool. Yeah. So here at My Amazon Guy, we consider ourselves to be marketers, and I know a lot of people in the space kind of consider them to be marketers, but you do have to kind of put that CFO hat on to think about the numbers, because otherwise it's just a lot of, money coming in and out, buy inventory, buy ads, FBA fees, 3PLs, all this stuff. All this stuff is adding up. You got your VAs you're paying for, all these things you're paying for, and you got to make sure that you got more money coming in than money going out, in a very elementary way to put it. So
yeah,
we're going to be talking more and more about that. So folks, if you have questions for Sam about profitability, we got a few already starting to come in. Keep in mind here, sometimes people make fun of participation trophies. I actually celebrate them here at My Amazon Guy, because what we're going to do is we are going to reward participation periodically. Not everybody, but some people that ask questions will get rewarded we'll see what they get. So Daniel Alam says, hi there, Kevin. Good to see you. We got Faisal has a couple questions before we get to that. Make sure to head on over to ecomcfo.co/resources and sign up for Sam's newsletters. And then you put together this big document, which was had a lot of benchmark numbers. Is that something I understood correctly?
Yeah, definitely. And before we went live, I wanted to make sure that I grabbed the actual link that takes you directly to the PDF. So there's no hoops to jump through. And I'm happy to post that in the comments, or
sure,
or your team can do it. Either one's totally fine. But we put together this 50-page benchmark report. It just focuses on the P&L, and we're super proud of it. It took us about 3 months to do, and a ton of work. And I was just so tired of seeing a lack of any sort of benchmark data that our clients and the larger industry could look at. And it's not perfect. There are some gaps in there. I keep looking at it, I'm like, oh man, we need to do this and we need to do this. But I think it's 10x better than anything in our industry. And there's actually also a little Easter egg in the report, that if the front of the report shows what may look like a generic series of line graphs, but that actually comes from this big yellow book behind me, which is a collection of all of Warren Buffett's annual letters to shareholders. And those the charts actually represent Berkshire Hathaway's performance over the last 80 years or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's not AI generated.
Yeah. So it's got good stuff in there. And so you had shared the link that you're referring to earlier. However, when I got kicked off by the internet, for those of you just joining us, I was gone for the first few minutes of this stream due to technical difficulties on my part. No reflection on Sam. Sam actually jumped in and did a good job answering questions and giving folks a quick history lesson on ecom finance. So what you can do is the little pop-up, I believe, will come up if they come to the URL I have there on the screen, ecomcfo.co.com/resources. And you can sign up for the newsletter and get that benchmark report. But I did get to see it briefly, and it's pretty intense. It's got a lot of stuff in it. So Because the question always comes up, am I doing any good? and compared to what? And compared to others. So make sure to, this is your chance to ask some questions. So we do have a question here from Faisal. It says, when comparing against the last few months, would Q4 sales financials not be way different from any other month? I guess that's a little bit of it depends. But I'll let you handle this one.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, Q4 for the vast majority of founders in our space is definitely different. So that's why I said, if we're comparing February, for example, I mean, for background, Kevin, I said, if you're reviewing any given month, you're really triangulating against three things. You're triangulating against the same month last year, the last couple months to see if there's any meaningful trends. And then the last piece that you're triangulating against is the budget that you created or hopefully created. And so, Faisal, to your question, absolutely, that if you're comparing February to December, that's probably not going to be a great comparison. But if we're sitting in May, June, July, and you're comparing June to July, that is probably more of a meaningful comparison. So you probably want to pay more attention to that, as well as, again, if we're comparing July, we would want to compare July 2024 to July 2025. We also want to look at what's been happening the last couple of months and then what we budgeted against. But, if, again, just to repeat, if we're sitting in February, yes, I'm going to put a lower importance of comparing December and January to February.
Got it. Okay. So basically you want to look at as much of apples to apples. Is that kind of a way to phrase it?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, sometimes it is important to look at the trend about where things have been going. Like cost of goods sold, for example, if I'm comparing my cost of goods sold as a percentage of sales, taking discounts and refunds aside, that number should be staying pretty steady. And if it's not, it means that, tariffs are impacting that, or I didn't raise prices enough, or I'm selling more lower margin products if that number is getting worse over time. So it is meaningful to compare February to December for that particular metric, but you may not want to compare your return on ad spend or your revenue, not your top line revenue. So
definitely not.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. So always kind of understand the numbers, and when you're doing comparisons, what might be affecting it. Like, oh, there's that thing that happens every December at the end of the year where people give everybody gifts, and that has a huge impact on retail industry and e-commerce as a whole. So,
yep.
Cool. All right. So Faisal, go ahead and email podcast at myamazonguy, singular podcast at myamazonguy, and let me know that I promised you a free $100 Mag School course, and I will get you a free coupon code for that as a thank you for being the first one to jump in with some questions related to the topic here. So next up, what is your expert opinion? This is definitely not directed at me. This is directed at Sam. What is your expert opinion, and what is an acceptable net margin in private label e-commerce, excluding big brands?
Yep. So I don't think that I don't really care what the business model is per se. If it's private label, if you're drop shipping, it doesn't really matter to me. At the end of the day, we're business owners, and I want a healthy business, or I want the healthiest business as possible. That business may be private labeling today, and it may be something different tomorrow. So I kind of want to take out this notion of, okay, so for this method of delivery, here's my optimal net margin. I want to look at it as kind of e-com in general. And not to talk our own book here, but in the benchmark report, we do give the 25th, 50th, and 90 percentile of profitability. And in our world, it's operating income or EBITDA. So we have to make sure that we're talking apples to apples, even when we say net profit. Some people say, SDE. Some people are
Do you mind just
comparing
briefly explaining the differences?
Yep. So we tend to only talk about like inherently financial metrics that you would hear even in an accounting class. So EBITDA, for example, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization. 9 times out of 10, our clients in particular, or most founders in this space, don't have depreciation because they don't have fixed assets, meaning equipment, manufacturing equipment, pallet jacks, their own warehouse, et cetera, or amortization, which is, more of your, it's just depreciation for intangibles like IP, for example. Some of our clients have IP that they're going to amortize over a certain period of time. Some of our clients do have, SBA loans and interest. So it's important to differentiate that. And then taxes. Most of our clients are LLCs or S corps, to where the taxes flow through to the owner. But if you are a C corp, the entity is paying taxes, and it should appear as a line item on the P&L. So that's kind of the 30-second version of EBITDA. SDE is really just like the number that we show to business brokers to say, hey, if I like removed all of my business personally expenses, and if I took my salary out of it, what would the seller's discretionary earnings end up being? And that is, you will not find SDE in an accounting class or in a publicly traded company's 10K, like Lululemon's. Do a control find in Lululemon's 10K, and you will not find SDE. You will find EBITDA. So it's important to know the difference.
Got it. So SDE is more for understanding like the potential valuation of most e-commerce businesses, whereas EBITDA is more like you're looking at like high level, how a CPA coming in who doesn't even understand e-com might be looking at the business.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I do think that, look, like, our clients put their vehicles on their business, or their health insurance, or other expenses. And for the vast majority of our clients, they are the 100% owner or close to 100% owner. So those are real expenses in their lives. And so much of the decisions that are made for personal reasons. I was just talking to my content director earlier, and we were talking about cash flow and our 13-week cash flow that we build for clients. And some clients will say, hey, I'm not willing for my bank balance to go under $1 million. Why is that?
Right.
It's just, it helps them sleep better at night.
Right.
You won't, that's not in a book anywhere.
Right. There's no book that says the minimum in your, most banks would be ecstatic that you had way less than that in your bank.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not based on, some people say, I'm not willing to go less than 3 months of expenses or 6 months of expenses. Those are all personal decisions. And so EBITDA does include all of those expenses that you are more than likely going to pay anyway, as an owner. And that is cash going out the door, whether it's from your personal bank account or the business bank account. So I like operating and reviewing the financials with the EBITDA or net income lens more than I'm not helping clients make decisions looking at their SDE number.
Okay.
They're related, but they're not the same, and they're used for different purposes.
Gotcha. So now to the original question, using whatever bottom line percentage number, what is a healthy bottom line, let's say EBITDA, that you would recommend folks at least shoot for as a benchmark?
Totally. So from our benchmark report, if you are 20+%, you are in the 95th percentile period.
Oh, gotcha. So it means you're doing better than at least 95%. You're in the top 5%.
Yep. And if you, the short answer to the benchmark report is if you look at the private company data that we have and the public company data, they're actually quite similar. So if you look at Yeti, Lululemon, Hims, a couple others, the 95th percentile for them is 20+%.
Oh, wow. So, okay. So that's a very healthy 95% or 95% tile, or about 20% net margins. So when you have a bell curve, that would be, at the end of the good end of the bell curve. So what about more in that middle portion of the bell curve of
I'd say the
most
50th
healthy ones?
I don't remember. I would say generally I would consider healthy 10+%. And I would say like that once you get to the 15% mark, that's like certainly above average. Anything below 10 gives me concern. And then, less than 0 is very concerning.
Yeah. That's an issue.
And not we can move on if you want to, Kevin, but I think sometimes I do see clients get really caught up in the percentage. The percentage is very important, but also the dollars are important. And going back to personal, like so many of these businesses are very personal to us. And, if I'm pulling out $1 million of EBITDA from my business a year, and that's 7.5%, but that $1 million allows me to go do all the things that I want to do, work less, buy the second home that I want to. Okay. Yeah. So we have to look at the percentage and the dollar, I think is important. But but generally speaking, 20+%, you're doing amazing. 10 to 15, good. 15 to 20, great.
Awesome. All right. So another question came in. Viper1213 says, I did $275,000 in sales last year, but profitable wasn't the best. I launched quite a few products, which could be why, other than focusing on my main products that are profitable. What are some other advice you can give on how to be more profitable? So regardless of the situation, when somebody hands you their numbers and you're looking at it, like, what are some suggestions you would give, or at least on where they should be looking to find more profitability?
Yeah, I mean, this is a really important question. And again, I hate to keep saying a lot of it is personal, but number one, what did you expect to happen? And what did you expect to happen for that particular month or that particular product launch? And then also, what do you expect to happen for the next 6-12 months? And if you budgeted to say, hey, I know I'm going to take a hit in profitability, but I'm going to make it up because I launched new products, and I expect those new products to be achieving X amount of revenue or X amount of gross profit, X amount of margin, whatever you're using to define success over the next couple months, then I'm good. I don't care about one particular month going down because I launched a bunch of new products. if you didn't set any sort of direction or expectation, then it's a very dangerous game of you don't know how well you're doing. You have no way to measure yourself. And so, yeah, there's a bunch of different things that I can tell you to say, oh, well, negotiate with your suppliers or increase prices, you know, blah, blah, blah. But I don't think that that's as helpful as giving you the advice to create a budget and your expectation for not only an individual product that you launch, but the general profitability of the business. And going back to the earlier point, how unprofitable are you willing to be in the short term? And do you have the cash to support that? If you have no cash in the bank, you can't afford to not be profitable in any given month. So that's going to, you know, push your decision making in a different direction. If you have a ton of cash and you're like, oh, great, I just want to keep investing, these things are working fantastic, then you can go 2, 3, maybe 6 months without being profitable because you're continuing to invest in the business and you expect that to obviously give you a larger payoff in the future. So.
Yeah, definitely. And another way to look at that too is like, you know, do you have a season coming up? Like, what is the season you're in? So like somebody who's selling gardening, nautical supplies, you know, pool supplies, spring and summer related things, they're now starting to head into their busier season. Whereas they probably were doing a lot of investing the last couple of months. Whereas that's different than somebody who, you know, has a winter related season. So, you know, where are you in the cycle of how your business flows? And if this is one of your first couple of years, then it's going to be a lot of learning, you know?
Yeah.
And so we've got some other questions that are starting to come in here as well. So Ebenob Ahmad says, how to judge decreasing sales I'm facing, how to tell if it's a general market demand decrease or if it's my fault badly doing SEO or managing PPC. I'm selling my first product, a Gothic planter. I did sales in Q4, went out of stock by December 19th, which would make sense around the holidays. Came back January 25th, relaunched, did great sales by Valentine's. But directly after that, sales went down. So I have some thoughts, but I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I kind of talked about earlier. Is this a finance question or a marketing question? And this, again, like finance should be in the room, whatever that means to you. But this, to me, is very much a marketing driven question first. So yeah, I think Kevin, this is yours.
Yeah, no. So, but this is good because, you know, this person's looking at their numbers. So let's just give them the kudos there that they're looking at their numbers. Now, I wouldn't beat yourself up if this is your first product. Now all of a sudden the sales are down. You got to remember, it's not just like this like straight line of, you know, the sales are always the same, you know, because Amazon's sales and Amazon's traffic is constantly fluctuating. As you can imagine, December 19th is like peak time. So once you get about the 19th, it starts to lower until you get to Christmas. You get a little bit of a bump the last week of December and the first couple of weeks of January. Not a huge bump, but a little bit of a bump. You know, a little bit of a bump at Valentine's Day, a little bit of a bump at Mother's Day, depending on your products and if they make sense to those holidays. So I wouldn't beat yourself up that it's, you know, you're doing bad. Now you could always look at how do I manage better and what are some other levers that you could pull and try going from there. But I think those are good questions. And, you know, the good news is you at least understand the situation you're in and how you might be able to improve them. So
well, you just said it too again, Kevin. I mean, he says that he's selling a Gothic planter, gardening. So yeah, I wouldn't expect a lot of people buying planters, assuming that this is a gardening related product, just Gothic theme. Not too many people are buying those in in January and February, or certainly less.
Yeah, exactly. So, today as we're live, it's April 1st. We're starting to head into that time period. But, like right now, like I'm in Florida, you're in Austin. We both have decent weather compared to a lot of the country. Whereas, some parts of the country are still going to have snow this month. So not everybody's getting into their, season. So if a Gothic planter is an outside thing, then that would definitely take effect. Now, I would imagine if it's Gothic related, if I understand, maybe it's the theme, the style is more of a Gothic theme, or if this is like Gothic, like kind of Halloweeny, maybe Halloween would also have. So, what are going to be some of the other time periods where it would get busier? But start knowing your numbers. Best thing to do is start knowing your numbers now. What does it actually cost you to sell a product from Amazon? Not just what the FBA fee is, but all the other fees that are included. So a question I have now is, as folks are looking at their numbers, what is your preferred method of how they would look at, let's say, their profit and loss statement?
Yeah, I looking at their P&L, just your raw P&L from QuickBooks Zero, whatever accounting system that you're using, is not incredibly helpful. You've got to slice and dice the data into ratios, so you can do apples to apples comparison. So whether the easiest or like the most straightforward, I guess, is to export your P&L by month into a spreadsheet and do those ratios on your own. If you want to get a little bit more sophisticated, there are a bunch of tools out there. One tool that we really like is Fathom, Fathom, and it bolts on to Xero and QuickBooks, and you can automate a lot of those ratio calculations. And so as soon as your financials are updated, you click one button, it's refreshed, and you get all of that data. And it just looks better, frankly. And you're less prone to manual error and not having to update a spreadsheet every month. And you can have your EA or admin do it if you have someone like that too. It's pretty straightforward.
What would be some ratios you'd want to look at?
Yeah. I'd point you in the direction of the benchmark report, but the primary ones is, absolutely, like we talked about earlier, either EBITDA, net income. I mean, that's really where the rubber meets the road after everything is washed out, like how much cash is left over. But upstream of that, contribution margin, super important. Gross profit margin, super important. That tells you a different story. Revenue growth, important. Refunds as a percentage of sales, important.
That's
Your
a good one to
G&A,
think about a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, I would say the big four, at least on the P&L, EBITDA or net income as a percentage of sales, contribution margin, gross profit margin, revenue growth, and then there's a bunch of double clicks into those.
Okay, got it. Now, contribution margin. Now we're going to go down a little bit of a rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
This could be calculated differently. So how would you calculate contribution margin?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, as long as you've defined it for your business. I've had countless conversations with people to say like, oh, well, I think it should include this. I think it should exclude this. Okay, fine. Doesn't matter as long as you're consistent. And we're comparing apples to apples. So for whatever reason in your head, if you do or don't include something, I'm not going to fight you about it. Do what you want. At the end of the day, it's your business. Generally speaking, contribution margin includes all of the variable cost, which would be your cost of goods sold, because that varies on how many units that you sell, your discounts, because that varies on how many units you sell, your refunds, your FBA commissions, your merchant fees, and also your cost to acquire the customer.
Okay.
Those are generally the big buckets. And I think if I didn't say pick, pack, ship, of course, pick, pack, ship costs.
So FBA fees / 3PL pick, pack, ship fees.
Yep. Some people, we want to have the debate on, well, do I include my influencer campaign? Do I include my SMS campaigns? Do I include the percentage that I'm paying to the agency on top of the ad spend? Okay, cool. We can have all those fun debates. And again, if it feels better to you to include those, then fantastic. But generally speaking, that's how we look at contribution margin.
Okay, got it. So, and then when you do it, you want to be consistent. Like 1 month you include influencer campaigns, and another month you ran influencer campaigns, but you didn't include them in that number. You want to always be consistent, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay, cool. So Abhinav, you've asked quite a few good questions there, so I'm going to go ahead and also give you a free course. Head on over to podcast@myamazonguy.com. Podcast is singular. Just email them and let them know that I promised you a free mag school course valued at $100. I'll get you hooked up there. So folks, if you have questions on profitability, how to look at your numbers, what you should be looking at, maybe what not to look at, what are some things that maybe people miss out on, these are all questions that you can ask Sam Hill from Ecom CFO, who I have known for longer than I've been at My Amazon Guy. I know he knows his stuff. And I even knew one of his clients before I knew him. So he's a good guy and he knows his stuff. So as folks are thinking of the questions that they ask, and who knows, maybe I reward them with a participation trophy as well. Tell us a little bit about, what are the things that people are missing when they're looking at their numbers?
Man, it's such a big question. I mean, I think it's a lot of what we've already touched on is if we haven't set any sort of target, then I'm in this perpetual state of I'm doing bad because I can always do better. And
right.
I need to compare myself to who I was yesterday and what I set my target on, not everyone else on X or the group that I'm in or some article that I've read. And I think because people lose sleep or they have so much stress and anxiety about, oh my God, I can do better, can do better, can do better. Well, yeah, you can always do better.
Right.
And in a lot of ways, I'm talking to myself. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And it's at the cost of your family or your health. And so at some point we have to create that budget and that plan and measure ourselves up to that plan to where we've defined success to say, okay, we are going to be happy if we meet or exceed this plan. We are not going to be happy if we don't meet or exceed this plan. And then what am I going to do about it? So I think a lot of it is that.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point because there's always that pursuit of more, that we always think that we could be doing more, but like relative to what, maybe you're doing better than you were last year and you're beating yourself up because you think you could be doing better, or, you think you should be, you're doing great, but you're actually not doing as good as you think you should be because, when you realize you actually are comparing it to, your actual goals. So that's a good point. All right. Yeah. So Viper 1213 asks, when is a good time to set up a S Corp, which would be for the American audience?
Yep.
Real quick, explain what an S Corp is and why that would even be important.
Well, before I define it, I would just say that earlier we talked about the difference between a finance question and a marketing question.
Mm-hmm.
There's another difference between a finance question and a legal question. And generally speaking, at least where we draw the line as a firm, we don't do tax work. I like to think that our firm is helping you make more money, and the tax people, their job is to help you keep more of your money.
That's a good way to look at it.
So I don't really care at the end of the day if you're an S Corp, an LLC, or a C Corp. Now, our firm, we certainly talk to a lot of tax people, a lot of CPAs, et cetera. But this question has more to do with your personal situation and any other investments that you may have, not just your Amazon business or your e-commerce business, because it may affect, again, your personal situation. Maybe you have other shareholders that are domestic or international, and there's just a lot of other considerations, and we aren't legal experts.
Yes, and one of the things to keep in mind with an S Corp is an S Corp will save you money, but it will also cost you money. So there is a element to maintaining it. There are additional filings that your tax person would have to do. So one of the things, I would say to take a look at is if you don't have a CPA running your taxes at the end of the day, go find one. They don't even necessarily have to be, super versed in e-commerce. They just need to be versed in the tax code and, follow the folks like Sam to help you figure out what are your numbers. And then you give those numbers to a CPA, and then they put it in IRS speak, so to speak.
Yep.
So an S Corp will save you on a few things. I have an S Corp, but just know it will cost some money. So, find out from your accountant, like, okay, for the K1, I don't even remember what the forms are called. So some sort of extra forms. Extra forms always have extra cost. There are certain filings. I think oftentimes you have to report it to your state, even if you don't have state income tax. Oftentimes you still have to report things to your state. So, and there are some requirements and some just kind of things to know. So don't try to do this one on your own, but go talk to your CPA. And believe me, this is one they would love to talk to you about. And I don't say that sarcastically. Like CPAs are always looking for a way to save you money because that's how they show their value. And this is potentially one. And when I first started in e-commerce, my CPA, we would have the conversation every year, like when would be the right time to start the S Corp. And so like he wasn't like pushing me into it right away. So, if you have one and the first thing out of their mouth is, yeah, you should do that. You should also set up, an account in the Cayman Islands. And I don't know if that's even a thing, but you know what I mean? Like if they're telling you all these things, they're just going to cost you more money that they're going to benefit from. You may want to run. So just things to think about, my personal opinion.
Yep.
All right. So any closing advice here, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, you've already said it multiple times, but obviously I'm biased. If you ask a barber if you need a haircut, they're going to say yes.
Exactly.
And, but just, I think a lot of our clients they don't have a finance and accounting background. So that means that they tend to shy away from facing the numbers head on. And I just can't emphasize enough that, Ryan Holiday wrote this beautiful book called Obstacle is the Way.
Right.
And for a lot of founders, finance and accounting is a huge obstacle. So you should run towards that, not away from it. That's the best closing advice that I could give.
Awesome. Well, I love that. And folks, if you are not already signed up, head on over to ecomcfo.co/resources and sign up for Sam's newsletter. You'll get lots of good advice on being more profitable and better understanding your numbers so you can make better decisions. And he's got an awesome benchmark report, which is how many pages again?
I think it's 50.
50 pages of all the questions and ones you hadn't even thought of how am I doing compared to everyone else. So if you're wondering, you know, where do you compare on the spectrum, this will help you with that. So head on over to ecomcfo.co/resources and sign up if you have not already. And Sam, again, thank you for joining us and being a trooper when my internet fell off at the beginning.
No worries, it's kind of fun.
Yes, we threw Sam at the fire and he jumped in there. So you can tell Sam is a go-getter that likes to figure stuff out. And that is his personality. And he's the type that will jump in there. And he took a chance on me a few years ago when I said, hey, you don't know me, but will you come speak at my thing? And he did. So Sam is a guy that likes to trial by fire and figure stuff out. So I respect that about Sam. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you. And everyone, we'll see you on the next one. Take care.